This is Mike with Mike's Car Hole. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be going through some pictures from my trip. So it's going to cut here to a couple of the short videos, and then I'll get back into talking here in a second.
Did he look and see if there wasn't no ants in what he's digging in? I don't see any ants. I've already marked these, so.
Hopefully you enjoyed those couple short videos. So we took the Suburban down to Charleston, South Carolina for Christmas. The day before we left, I was coming home from work in the truck and noticed that it was making some noise in the undercarriage. So I ended up checking it out, and I saw that my carrier bearing was blown. Didn't really think much of it because, you know, that stuff does happen. So I delayed my leaving, stayed an extra day at home, replaced the carrier bearing, got everything all buttoned back up, and then drove down there. And then didn't have any issues really on the way down to South Carolina. And it wasn't until like a day or two that we were down there, and I was going up to my dad's house, and I started hearing the undercarriage noise again. And it wasn't as bad, so I was like, all right, I'll get under there and check it out. I was thinking maybe one of the universal joints or something went bad. And when I looked under the truck, saw the carrier bearing was blown again. So my dad and I took the drive shaft off and decided to rebuild it, put a new carrier bearing on it, rebuilt the drive shaft, put it all back together. This is it getting towed in Charleston. This was after that meeting with my dad. I had it rebuilt again because when I was leaving my dad's house after me and him fixed it, it blew on the 30-mile drive back to the hotel. So the next day, we took it to the Pet Boys, which was right next to our hotel. They rebuilt it again, and then that's where, after they had rebuilt it, and it blew the carrier bearing and broke the drive shaft, broke the universal joint and the drive shaft. After they had repaired that, when I got it towed back to the shop, this is when we noticed all this chaos under here. So he's pointing here. There's just one point under the cross member. It's 2 bolts. There's no metal in between any of that rubber. It's just 2 bolts that go into the rubber, and then a stack of washers with 1 bolt on the bottom. And so that ended up being, with that transmission not secure, that ended up being why we had all these problems. And as you can see in this picture right here, the cross member is diagonal. So it's sitting on one hinge point, and it's on a diagonal slope stacked on washers and rubber with no support. But that wasn't the only thing that we noticed that was going on with this truck. Here's the carrier bearing that Pet Boys had replaced. This was the 3rd carrier bearing that had been replaced, because like I said, I replaced the one before we left, replaced the one when I was at my dad's house, and then they put this one on, and I didn't even make it 2 miles from the shop when this one blew and broke the drive shaft. So just going through a few of the pictures at the shop. What's up next? I think there's something with the bell housing. Yeah, bell housing bolt here. They're not graded bolts. This one up on top's got a washer. You can see. So the shop I bought this from, Traditional Hot Rod, in Kentucky, you know, I reached out to them, and Dave, the owner, did say he was going to take care of everything. So I'm not gonna talk bad about these guys, but I got a little backstory on it. They bought it from somebody, and I'm not gonna put that person's name out here either. I have his information too. Another bell housing bolt there. But basically, David bought this truck from this guy. I don't know if it was somebody who trusted or what, but I guess they didn't do a lot of checking it out before they shipped it out to me, which it's understandable, but I had the perception that I was buying this from Traditional Hot Rod Motors, not somebody else that they bought it from. Here's some just random wiring on the back of the transmission. I also learned that this particular transmission, it was advertised as a 4L65E, and it's a 4L60E. Just one of those other things that this guy wrote. Now, it's possible that this is a 4L65E and a 4L60 case. I'm not 100% sure on that. When it gets back to their shop, they're going to go through that. The tail shaft is going to need to be rebuilt on this as well. This is the rear helper bag on the back, so it's in between the leaf spring here and the frame of the truck. So it was just tack welded up top, and you can't really see in this picture, but what you can see is if you look at the left side where that guy's thumb is, there's no bolt there at the bottom to connect the other half of the bag mount on the bottom, and it was that way on both sides. And if you look at the bolt on the other side, there's a stack of washers there, and the bolt goes up. So these bags were just kind of set in place. After it left the shop and I took all these pictures, I had the help of my mom and my grandma. Grandma let me use AAA, and we got this thing towed to my dad's house. And my mom helped me get that sweet 12-passenger van that's there so I can get home, because we were, 500 miles from home. So there was no way this truck was getting us home. So we needed something else. And, right after Christmas, we were able to land this thing. It was surprisingly good on gas. But this is currently where my Suburban still sits. It's been a little over a month now. It's been still sitting in that exact spot, waiting for Dave to come pick it up. He says his guys are coming out here soon. And this is a picture that I intended to do with the Suburban, but instead we used the van. If you made it this far along, hey, thank you for watching my channel. I really appreciate it, and look forward to more Suburban content in the future.